We can hear you. We're ready to go.
All right. Well, thanks for taking the time to do all this press and everything in these unusual times. The last time I talked to you, my title was Vice President of Sports Medicine and Performance, and I've added Infectious Control Officer to that title. Hopefully it's temporarily. So the ICO that's appointed by each team, it was mandated by the NFL, is the person that oversees our infectious response team, carries out the protocols, puts together what's called our infectious disease emergency response protocol, which is the IDER, which was also mandated by the NFL and the NFLPA. So that's been my job the last 9 weeks and continues through until the pandemic's over. My infectious response team includes, and I got to give them a thank you because of all their hard work through this time, Dr. Monaco, Dr. Darsh, Dr. Hawkinson, Kirsten Krug, Jeff Miller, Mitch Reynolds, Sean Tyrants, Brandon Hamilton. They put in unbelievable work. So just so you understand how the process went, the NFL put out protocol, and it's an ever-changing document. It's over 80 pages long. I joked with my wife, if I would have studied as hard in college as I am studying this protocol, I'd probably be an attorney and not an athletic trainer. But this thing is detailed. It's very well done. It was put together by NFL and the NFLPA in a joint effort. How they put the protocol together is they put together work groups in different areas, such as testing, acclimation of players, what to do with a player that's going to be that tests positive, travel, sanitizing. So there was these little work groups, and there was representation from both NFL and NFLPA. I was lucky enough and humble enough to be on the group that did acclimation, which was the ramp up for the players. But I have colleagues, former assistants that are now head athletic trainers that headed some of the committees on testing. And then Alan Wright was involved with our equipment managers in the league. So, and then of course you guys know that Andy was very involved in the process, and Clark was at the forefront of ownership in the process. So the Chiefs had big say in the protocol. As the protocol came out, we were charged with doing this infectious disease emergency response document. And that is what is our document and our motivating force behind what we're doing at the Chiefs. So we followed that document. That document ended up being 30 pages long, and it was a joint effort. I had to head that group up, but our facilities team, Mitch Reynolds, Kirsten Krug, the physicians, everybody on this emergency response team, including Brad and Ted with the protocols for what you guys are going to do and how we're going to handle that. We were all involved in this process. I'm proud to tell you we were the first team to get approved with our IDER, our infectious disease emergency response document. So that document had to be approved by the NFL first. Then it went on to infectious disease people at Duke, and then it got approved by the NFLPA. And the only way that gets approved so quickly is because this organization is a team. And I will stand here today and tell you, us being in the Super Bowl and facing adversity in the playoffs and banding together as an organization and experiencing the week in Miami absolutely helped me, this organization, and my team be able to accomplish what we accomplished in the last 9 weeks, to provide an environment that we think is as safe as possible for these players, coaches, staff, and all of our families. I can't say enough about the support that I got from Clark Hunt, Mark Donovan, Coach Reed, of course, and Brett Veach as we went through this process. They were very involved. They got constant updates. They gave me constant feedback. They gave me support with the infectious response team. And I'm grateful that I'm in Kansas City and grateful that I work with that leadership. I've got to give a shout out to my staff. So Tiffany Morton, Evan Kraft, Julie Freimeyer and David Glover, they have not had a vacation. They did not leave Kansas City. They did not leave this building because they were attached to me. And it was the only way we could get through the COVID policies is with their support. Now we had a few guys in this summer or this spring, summer, doing rehab, and we did that in the morning, and then we worked COVID policy the rest of the afternoon. There's no way I could have done this without them. And once again, let me go back to that championship team mentality. This is a championship organization, and when it comes to COVID, that's how we acted. And I'm once again, I'm super grateful for that. As far as the protocol goes, I think everybody's focused on testing. And the NFL's hired bioreference labs to do the testing, and we're well underway. Testing is one part of what is going to keep us safe. So there's a bunch of other things other than testing. Now, listen, testing's really, really important, but I think you guys, the media, and it's not your fault. That's the focus, because that's what the NBA, everything was testing. But you got to know that, so I'm wearing this little device. I don't know whether you can see it. That's a contact tracer. So everybody who's tested and they come in the building has to wear that contact tracer. That contact tracer lets you know who you're around. And then if, like tomorrow, if we got a positive test, they would know that I spent 5 minutes with Ted Cruz or 4 minutes within 6 feet of Brad G. They would go back and trace that, and then we would put our protocol in place based off of the tracing. So tracing it's a huge deal. Connexon is the company that's doing the tracing. It's a lot of manpower, but everybody's accepted it. In fact, I had a veteran player today say, when am I getting my tracer? So they understand it. They understand that it's testing, tracing. Then the other stuff is social distancing and sanitizing. I can't thank the facilities people at Arrowhead and here at the practice facility enough. Rocco Mazzella and Brandon Hamilton, they've gone out of their way to make it right for us. They've worked through the night a couple times to make sure that we had everything. We've taken the stadium and converted it over for training camp. We're using the concourses for meeting rooms that are very socially distant. We've changed our cafeteria and our cafeteria policies where we have social distancing and tables that are spread out with only 2 or 3 chairs at a table. Everything's to go, no buffets. We had to change all that, and Aramark was a big help in that. As far as sanitizing goes, the group here at the practice facility right now and going on to the stadium with training camp, they look like they work at Disney, because they are behind you all the time, wiping door handles and wiping touch points. And you know, we have these mister guns. They're electrostatic sprayers that spray chemicals. Every time the team leaves the locker room, they clean it. Every time they leave the weight room, they clean it. This building is clean. The stadium is clean. And my hat goes off to that group of workers that are working tirelessly to make sure that we're safe. You're going to see some changes when you come to practice or when you view practice, because hydration, there's no more squirting water in a guy's mouth. It's now all individual bottles. There's no more towel sharing. You're going to see some changes at practice with how we go about it. You'll see equipment guys wiping down pads in between reps. And all players will wear the tracing device at practice as well. So this is a very serious, very big undertaking, but we feel good about it. Our players so far have bought in. Our coaches have bought in. The staff has been with me the whole way. So the staff that's been here, they've bought in, and they're anxious to know. One of the big pieces to the whole thing is education. So we've educated the players that have been in. We've educated the staff on 3 occasions, 3 separate PowerPoints. We will educate the veterans when they get here. And the really neat thing that we're doing is we're educating the families of all players and staff that are going to be in these tiers. And we want them to know that we're doing everything possible to make their loved ones safe. And, I came here with Andy Reid for a reason, because Andy Reid cares about his players. I think Andy Reid loves football, and he loves the pageantry of it, and he loves game planning and all that, but he loves his players more. and you can see it when those players talk about them. And because I head up our health and safety and medical group, Andy has instilled that in me to love these guys and love them like family. And that's how we've approached this pandemic. And I've been on the phone with them, trying to assure them, getting their feedback, what their worries are. And it's been an interesting time for me. I'll leave you with this, and then I'll take a few questions. So pandemics aren't fun, crises aren't fun, none of that. There is a silver lining in this one for me working for the Kansas City Chiefs, and that is that I've learned so much about the people in this organization while doing this unbelievable task, something that I had no idea I was going to have to take on. But you find out about trust, you find out about loyalty, and you find out about reliability. And if you take those three words, that trust, loyalty, and reliability, and you go back to the 2019 season, that got us through. And that also will get us through this pandemic. So with that, I'll take questions.
Go to Herbie first. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Rick, how are you?
Hey, Herbie.
Hey, a two-part question here, and it's phenomenal what you've been able to put together there. And I think we'll both agree that even the best laid plans of mice and men can often go awry, and positive tests could happen here. In the absence of a vaccine, what is the acceptable agreed-upon percentage rate for positive tests during camp? And then secondly, what are the protocols on handling positive tests during the regular season, especially on Fridays?
Yeah, so I'll answer some of it. Some of it I'll let up to the NFL to answer just because I feel it's their answer. First of all, just a little education. The fastest vaccine in history, in world history, is 4 years, and that was for the mumps. We are right now at about 5 months. So, everybody asks that question, how are you going to play football without a vaccine? There's viruses out there like HIV that never got a vaccine. The common cold doesn't have a vaccine. Herpes doesn't have a vaccine, right? So we have viruses that don't have vaccines. There's no telling that we're going to get a vaccine for this. So we can't think like that. We've got to go to the next step. If we get the vaccine, great. We've got to go to the next step of testing. Every team's going to have positive tests. We know that. Society, we're testing positive at 70,000 a day right now. We know that. What we hope is we limit our tests, or limit our positive tests, and when we get a positive test, we act accordingly with the CDC to get those people isolated, get them healthy, and get them safely back to work. And there's a whole lot of protocol that would take me an hour to talk to you about, because a lot of it's on not an individual basis, but an individual case. So it doesn't matter whether it's Patrick or whether it's me, we've got to follow the guidelines that are positive test, symptoms, days, antibodies, all that kind of stuff to determine when it's safe for that person to come back to work. And I think the NFL will release that eventually. I don't think I've been cleared to release the actual days. Certainly all of us that do healthcare for the NFL and the coaches and the general managers, we've asked a question about Fridays before games. Right now, we don't have games, so that's a good thing. But they're putting some protocols together as we get closer to game time. And listen, it's not going to be normal. This isn't going to feel normal for anybody in this building, any of you guys, because you know what? It's not normal. So we've got to adjust. And I'll go back to the 2019 season. No team adjusted as well as the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to adjust, and we're going to make it happen, and we're going to get positives, and we're going to take care of those guys. And when it's safe to come back to work, they will. We're going to get positive tests within the staff. We're going to take care of them and their families and get them back to work when it's safe. We're chasing an unknown right now, which is okay, because there's a lot known, but there's a little bit of I wouldn't say we're chasing unknown. We're chasing something invisible. There's a lot known about it. It's not unknown. We're chasing something invisible. My wife asked me the other night, how are you doing this? And I said, hey, when we were in Jersey, remember when we had water in the basement? She said, yeah, you didn't know where it was coming from. And I said, exactly. You don't know this. I mean, you've got to take universal precautions and do your thing, but you just don't know who has it. So masks, sanitizing, gloves, PPE.
All right, guys, we've got time for a couple more, so we're going to go Adam Teicher, and then we'll let BJ close us out. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Rick, how you doing?
Hey, Adam.
Hey, couple things. First of all, now that guys are coming back in the building, how would you describe their attitude attitudes, whether it's apprehensive or wary, or just generally speaking, how would you describe that? And also, I know you've seen a million things, just about everything since you've been an athletic trainer in the NFL, but you haven't seen anything like this. What's it been like for you to get your arms around this in that respect?
Yeah, two really good questions, Adam, and I'll answer the first. With our players are so respectful of our staff, and that's led by Andy. You know, he's kind of created this culture in the building, and they know that I worry about them. And I reached out to them in the off season to find out how they felt about certain things, so that we could put protocols in place. And one of the two of the things that just inside stuff that came across my desk when I asked the players, they were worried about their families. And they said the people that they know that had COVID felt guilty. So automatically we instilled an education program for the families, and there's going to be testing available for the families. I took that to the NFL, and so did others. And then with Sean Tyrants on our staff, that's why he was on our infectious response team, because so many people who get COVID feel guilty. And the players are worried about that. They were like, what if I get somebody else sick? What if I get the coaches sick? What if I can't play? So we have that as part of our protocol. Now, since they've come to the building, I'd say the response is pretty positive. They're like, whoa, this is pretty impressive what facilities has done. They see the cleaning people. They see the testing. They see what we're going through to make sure they're right. They're wearing their tracers around, and they get that. So the rookies, and then, of course, I got Pat and Matt and Chad here, you know, so they're veteran guys. And then I've had 4 guys rehabbing that they've been through it too. And they're like, man, this is way better than I thought. And I got to tell you, I keep bragging about the organization. I had some fears about this, how we would pull this off and how we would go forward with it. It's been, I won't say it's smooth because this isn't normal, right? It's not smooth, but we haven't had the issues that I thought we would have because the staff has embraced it and people are all taking responsibility. One of the things that Pat and I talked about during the whole process, and I talked to Pat a good bit about it, he was like, Rick, some of this you can't handle. This has to be on the players. And I said, all right, you and the Badger got to take care of that. And I talked to them both, and they said, we got you. We'll make sure that we want to really run it back, and we want to be in Tampa. And the only way we can do it is if everybody's healthy. So they got to take care of themselves when they leave the building. So there's a little bit of peer pressure there. Your other question was, how did I take this on? I'm not sure. Over a long period of time, all of a sudden. So this took weeks and weeks and weeks, and I kept telling Ted and Brad and my staff, I don't know whether we're ever going to play football. And then all of a sudden, boom, we're here, and it's in place, and it'll constantly change. And I've embraced it because I see the silver lining in it. I see the good in people. I see how much they care about each other, and that's very fulfilling to me. It's something that not every NFL team organization has, and so that's made it easier for me. It's been a really tough ride, but it's been a good ride, and I'm proud of the people that have worked on my team to get it to this point. And I think we're anxious to see where we go with it. Certainly, we don't want to get anybody sick, but we still want to play football. They all love to play football. You guys love football, and that's where we're at.
All right, BJ, go ahead and close us out.
All right, Rick. David Coley told me years ago that one of the things he loved about working for Coach is that he could tell you on any given day, any particular day of the year, exactly what he'd be doing because of how much of a creature of habit Coach was and how he instilled that in all of his assistants. How has it been like for you, as long as you've known Coach, working through this environment where he doesn't have, a playbook to kind of get through what this looks like? And can you speak to the relationship you guys have and how that's helped you guys and how you've helped him kind of set the stage for how he can, structure this to try to get the team ready to play September 10th?
Yeah, BJ, in your ears here, you've really captured the emotion of what Coach is about and what I'm about with Coach. So I think I've told some people on the call before, there's two men in the world that I'd take a bullet for. One's my dad and one's Andy Reid. He's a father figure to me, and he's been awesome in this process, but he's also been a big redheaded bear at times because of the unknown. And he likes to lay things out, and he has his schedule ready in May. And we're in July and the schedule's not, it's just being finalized today because we just got the schedule protocols. I felt like this was a chance for me to give back to Andy Reid. He's given me so much and taught me how to be a good athletic trainer. And I feel like he and I are very close, but I walk in his office on Monday mornings with problems. And this was one of the rare times in my career that I could actually give him solutions. And so he was struggling with the unknown from the league. And I was getting information earlier because it was all medical before they involved the coaches and the general managers. But then they started bringing Andy in. So he knew what the questions were going to be going into his meetings. And he would call me. And we had some late night conversations. Well, they were late for me. He was on the West Coast. So they were late for me. But we would go through, phantom schedules. And when it was all said and done, he came back to town. I said, all right, now that we're done doing this and we're moving forward, how many schedules do you have? And he showed me on his iPad, he had like 20 different schedules because every time they would throw us wasn't a curveball, but it was a change in the protocol. He changed his schedule and he's got it pretty mastered. I mean, it's amazing because last night I got the same printout that I've gotten every year for camp. It was just in July instead of May. And then we had to put a tweak on it this morning, but he's a master at organization and all that. And I felt like this was the first time where I could give back to him and say, okay, coach, this is what the rule's going to be. How are we going to do this? And he would say, I got it. And he'd call me 20 minutes later. He'd go, what do you think about this? So this was I'm not telling you this was fun for me, but it was different for me. And my ability to assist coach in doing the protocols was very, very fulfilling to me. The fact that he was the main coach on all these calls also gave me a little thrill because I was giving him information and we worked stuff out before he get on the call. And he's a beautiful mind. I mean, he really has a focus on what to do and the right things to do. I've said this to you guys before. His dad was an artist. His mom was a doctor. He's got art and science like nobody I've ever seen. And I've been on Zoom calls religiously with science people. And then you get to Andy who throws the art into it and it all makes sense. And I've gotten off calls with the medical people and said, I don't know how we're going to do this. And I'd call coach and he'd say, okay, we're going to do it this way. That's the art of the science that Andy Reid's so good at that we never see because we basically enjoy Sundays where his art is unbelievable, So I know I bumped a lot of people up, but it took this whole village to get us to today. It's going to take the whole village to get us to September 10th. And it's going to take even more people as we add to the ship to get us through February. But I thank you guys. And I know very few people say, I miss seeing you guys around. I really do. I really miss you guys. So thanks for the time.
Thank you, Rick. We appreciate it.